Welcome to The Explainer. So, you're prepping for the IELTS speaking test, and you're probably drowning in advice, right? Well, today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to talk about the so-called tricks that could actually be dragging your score down so you can zero in on what really, truly works.
I mean, you've seen them, right? Those viral videos with millions of views promising all these secret tricks. But here's the thought. What if I told you that following that advice isn't just a waste of time? What if it's the very thing that's actually lowering your score?
So, you really have to ask yourself, am I one of them? Am I falling for advice that sounds great on YouTube, but is actually setting me up to fail on test day?
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we're not going to listen to some random person online. Nope. We're going straight to the horse's mouth, the only source that actually matters, the official test makers, IDP, and the British Council. Let's find out what they say.
All right, let's kick things off with our first category of myths, the performance myths. This is all about how you act during the test. You know, your body language, your smile, not so much what you actually say. And believe me, this is where a ton of students get confused.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. The videos that tell you to smile, 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 use big hand gestures, make non-stop eye contact, be super polite. I mean, some of these videos have like 13 million views. This advice is everywhere. And on the surface, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? If the examiner likes you, you'll get a better score. But is that how it really works? Is your personality part of the test? Let's check with the official sources. And boom, there it is, straight from IDP Education. The examiners will not give you more or fewer marks for smiling. It's just not part of the evaluation. They are trained to do one job, assess your English. That's it. So yeah, being friendly is nice, but it has zero, and I mean zero, impact on your band score. And just to hammer the point home, the British Council says the exact same thing. Students are not assessed on appearance or body language. So all that time you're spending worrying about how you look or if your hands are moving right, you can just stop. None of that is getting you any points.
So here's the bottom line on this one. All that mental energy you're putting into your performance is completely wasted. It's actually taking your focus away from the four things that do matter: your fluency, your vocabulary, your grammar, and your pronunciation. That's it. That's the whole game.
Okay, so let's move on. The next set of myths, the language myths, are just as common, and maybe even more damaging. This is all about the words people tell you to use.
So the advice here is basically that your normal, everyday English just isn't going to cut it. You have to use formal, academic language. You need to memorize these long lists of fancy words. And you've got to cram in a bunch of idioms to get a band 7. It's all about sounding like a walking textbook.
But let's look at what IDP actually says. The test includes both formal and informal English. Think about it. The speaking test is a conversation, not a formal presentation. If you try to sound like a professor giving a lecture, you're just going to sound unnatural and, honestly, a little robotic. And this is exactly where the trap is with those fancy vocabulary lists. The British Council points this out perfectly. You memorize these impressive words, but you don't really know how to use them. So you try to force one into a sentence, you use it in the wrong context or mispronounce it, and guess what? Your score just went down, not up.
Okay, and this next point is so important. The whole idiom thing. People see the term idiomatic language in the scoring criteria and they freak out thinking they need to memorize 100 idioms like it's raining cats and dogs. But that's not what it means. Idiomatic just means sounding natural. It includes super common stuff like phrasal verbs, collocations, things you probably already use.
So the big takeaway here is really simple. Don't try to be a hero. Use the words you know, the ones you are 100% confident with. Speaking clearly and correctly with simpler language is always better than trying to sound super smart and making a mistake. Trust me on that. All right, this next one, this might just be the most dangerous myth of them all, the preparation myths. This is the idea that you can basically hack the test by memorizing answers in advance. You've seen the promises, right? Memorize answers for these common topics. Learn these impressive phrases. These shortcuts feel so tempting because they seem like an easy path to a high score. But it is a massive, massive trap.
And don't take my word for it. Here's a direct warning from the British Council. Examiners are trained to spot memorized answers. They do this all day, every day. They can tell when you're reciting a script. And when they catch you, they mark you down for it. Period. Let me show you how this plays out. It's like a trap. So, step 1. You give this perfect, beautiful, memorized answer. The examiner hears it and it immediately thinks, okay, That was rehearsed. So step 2, they hit you with a totally random follow-up question that you could never have prepared for. And step 3, that's what you're scored on. How you handle the unexpected question, not your perfect memorized speech.
And another thing, part 2. A lot of people think you have to talk about every single bullet point in order. That's just not true. IDP says don't worry about it. The main goal is to show you can talk for 2 minutes. The bullet points, they're just there to help you if you get stuck. They're not a mandatory checklist.
Like, the bottom line is that memorization is not a safe strategy. It's a high-risk gamble. There are no shortcuts. The only real way to prepare is to build your actual, flexible English skills so you can talk about anything they ask you.
Okay, so we've debunked the myths about performance, about language, about preparation. So after all that, what are you actually supposed to do? What's the real path to success here?
This table really brings it all together. The myth is that performance matters. The reality is only your speaking is scored. The myth is you need fancy language. The reality is natural communication is what's key. The myth is you should memorize answers. The truth is that's penalized. Your strategy is simple. Focus on the 4 marking criteria, speak clearly and confidently, and build real, flexible speaking skills. It's about getting back to basics. And that brings us to the final, most important question. Are you just preparing to pass a test, or are you preparing to truly communicate in English? Because when you shift your focus to just becoming a better, more confident communicator, you're not just getting ready for an exam, you're getting ready for your future. And that, right there, is the real secret to success.